Then coming to the oldest method of communication, that is chemical signals, it is still used and was first used by cellular organisms. Okay, so they started with chemical signals. There was no direct tactile signals, but few exchange of chemicals, and that is why it is called the oldest form of communication. We still do and interact, our cell still communicate with respect to different chemicals. Now that chemicals can be proteins, hormones, pheromones, and different kind of other chemical backgrounds. So with respect to that, it is divided into different kind of chemicals with respect to either it could be gustatory, which is receptive by taste, or olfactory or by smell, right? So it could be depending on the which kind of source is it, like from where it is coming. It could be hormonal, that is basis of the hormone. It could be of the hormone source. It could be pheromonal. It could be aerosol. Apart from that, the nature of the chemical, it could be volatile, that evaporates or goes off after few time. It could be non-volatile, it stays for a longer time. So volatile are usually those chemicals which evaporate or go off after few time, whereas non-volatile chemicals usually stay for a longer period of time. So it might be solid, it might be liquid, it might be gases, whatever. So the usual chemical detection signal in our brain are different with respect to pheromonal. There are many different systems that work around to perceive signals like chemicals. So when we talk about pheromones, they are usually chemical signals that trigger a social response with the same species member. Yeah, so usually it is function for a same species member. They're chemical capable of acting like hormones outside the body, and sometimes also working as a protein system inside the body. Yeah, so pheromones are usually formed from different kind of functions. They might be found in unicellular prokaryotes to complex multicellular eukaryotes like us. So there can be different kind of pheromones. On the basis of how they transduce information, there could be releaser hormone. Releaser hormone actually releases information with respect to the other recipient. I mean, when a pheromone is released, the recipient actually does something in response to it. So it alters the behavior of the recipient in producing something or releasing something. Okay. Signal hormones are short term, deals directly with the individual or recipient, and it signals a specific meaning. Then there is primer pheromone. Primer pheromone triggers a change in developmental event. So it initiates a developmental event which changes the function and modification of the entire organism's physiology and development. Okay. So on the basis of their functions, pheromones can be of different types. It can be aggregation pheromone. Aggregation pheromones are usually released by organisms to initiate an aggregation. So aggregation usually refers to a grouping of different organisms. So when an organism releases aggregation pheromones, they are telling to let's huddle up, so let's group up. Yeah. So there's in many organisms where they initiate the grouping up. Then there is alarm pheromone, which is released by different organisms to indicate an alarm situation. Then there is epidactic hormone. It is usually released by females around their nest, telling that this is my nest, for the other females to don't come here. Okay, so that is different from that of the territorial signals. Territorial signals are to mark a territory, but epidactic signals are usually to mark the nesting areas and by females. Whereas territorial can be either male or female, but it is usually to mark a range, home range. Okay, it can be either a nesting ground, it can be either a breeding ground, it can be either a foraging ground, or whatever. That is a territorial formation. Okay, which is usually kind of fixed, but epidactic pheromones are rare and usually seen in few insects, which release that to show that this is the marking of a nest, don't come near me. Then there is trail pheromone. Trail pheromones are released by many social insects to make the other members of their team to follow it. Yeah, so there is sex pheromone. Sex pheromone is pretty common within all organ systems. It is also found in humans as well as other invertebrates. So it is a kind of chemical that is used to attract mates. Then there is necromone. Necromone is also called as necropheromone, which is released by dead and decaying organisms. So it acts as a stimulant for all the scavengers or decomposers. Then there is social pheromones. Social pheromones include many pheromones which are found prominently in hives, social insects. Like in beehive, you'll find worker pheromone, you'll find royal queen pheromone. Okay. Then there is different pheromones which is released by the queen bee and different pheromones which are released by the worker bee. So these are all inclusive pheromones that is included in a social structure.